You're listening to Oh My Health, There Is Hope podcast.
When your heart is aching and your world is shaking, don't give up. No, don't give up.
Hello and welcome to Oh My Health, There Is Hope, the podcast. I'm your host, Jana, and today I'm here with a very, very special guest, Chelsie Ward. Chelsie has a background in applied behavior analysis and is a registered nurse, FDN practitioner, and energy healer. She is the author of the book, Healed His Way, where she shares how she healed her body naturally after being failed by conventional medicine. Having completed intense research into how the body works, how food is medicine, and how our bodies are designed to heal themselves, her focus is on wholeness in mind, body, and spirit. She successfully empowers others to reach their wellness goals by guiding them with a straightforward approach. Chelsie speaks authentically from her own experiences and is filled with energy, positive light, and joy. And I'm telling you, I've met her, and not in person, on Zoom. She is totally filled with positive light and joy. Thank you so much for being with us today, Chelsie.
Thank you, Jana. I'm so excited to be with you today.
One of the first things, I know you said you've listened to some of our episodes, but one of the first things we ask all of our guests to do is to share their story of hope. Because like I say at every show, I believe our journeys were given to us for a reason. And I'm betting if I asked Chelsie if she would change any of it, she would tell me no, because of where she's at right now. And us sharing those stories of hope gives you hope. So Chelsie, you want to share your story of hope with us?
Absolutely. And you're so right. I think that our story is a piece of us, and we all have a destiny. We're all here for a reason. And if we can even apply some of those bad things that happen in our lives, then we can really kind of flip that and flip the switch, if you will, and go into a different direction based on what we've experienced. And that's exactly what happened to me. So I was seemingly a somewhat healthy child on the surface, of course. Everyone would have thought that. But I put on a good show, I guess. And I always had, stomach aches and hormone imbalance, put on birth control from the time I was 12 years old, and just always lived not feeling good. My husband met me and he said, "Chelsie, are you always nauseated?" And I was like, I didn't realize until then, yeah, I am always nauseated. And it was just one thing after another. By the time I entered into nursing school, I think I did that because I wanted to study conventional medicine. I wanted to help other people because I knew I'd been suffering my whole life. And I would have migraines that lasted sometimes a month with no relief. I was diagnosed with hypothyroidism. I had gallbladder issues. They were wanting to do surgery, take my gallbladder, irritable bowel syndrome. By the time I was 27, I had entered into perimenopause. So hot flashes, all the things at a very young age. And in nursing school, I got sicker than I'd ever been before. And I realized then I'm just like these patients that I'm helping. I'm going to the pharmacy every single month to fill my bag of prescriptions, but I'm not getting well. I'm being told the very same thing. Surgery and medication is your way out. And the truth is that I wasn't seeing that as the answer. So while I'm in nursing school, of course, I'm a finisher and I wanted to finish what I'd started. So I did complete nursing school, but I just knew that there was no passion there for me. And I started studying kind of natural medicine and moving more toward a functional approach. And I studied how food is actually medicine and our bodies are created to heal themselves. And as long as we give the body what it needs, then we can actually heal. So I went on a mission and I healed my body naturally. And that's really what flipped the switch for me. I thought I was studying functional medicine for myself, but I realized that if I, as a nurse, didn't have this information, then the people that I served, they didn't have it either, and they needed it. So that was the reason for writing the book, Healed His Way. I wanted to make sure that I just got the right information out to the world, or the information that had helped me. And when I published that book, it was like, people started coming to me saying, "Hey, I never imagined. I didn't know any of this stuff. I'm so glad that I'm, feeling brave enough to go work with someone in natural medicine. I'm so glad that there is another answer." So that's kind of what spurred my interest to really study and start helping people by using everything that I learned to heal my body naturally. So that kind of shifted my life, and it landed me where I am today.
You know, one of the things I love about everything I've looked at, like on your social media and all the stuff you do, is that I think you understand the meaning of holistic. And holistic, for people who are like, well, what does that mean? They think it's just natural, and it's not. Holistic, you put a W in front of that word and spell it whole. It's the whole package, right? It's our spiritual well-being, how we affect, how we pay attention to our energy and the vibration we're putting out there, rest, hydration, and of course diet. But it's the whole part of you, like nurturing all those. And one of the things I love about your bio is that you talk about feeling all those spaces. So I love that you do that, and you really do understand the holistic part of it. Can you tell us a little bit about what it was that you found that you were treating?
Yeah. So for me, and this is going to sound really odd, I had all the symptoms of gut issues and hormones, right? But what I found in my own personal life is when I started to work on my health, I realized that, being sick is not a fun thing. And it can kind of sometimes put us in this bad place mentally and emotionally. And what I realized for me personally is that I feel like we try to treat the symptom. We want to say, there's a headache, here's a pill. Or we're gaining weight, here's this weight loss program. And so many times we fail because we're not addressing the underlying cause. And we think, well, what in the world is the underlying cause? What I realized is that we think it's physical. But if we think about who we are as people, we're not just physical beings. We have emotions, we have souls, we have a background. Some people have gone through experiences that have given, just mindsets that are, sabotaging us. We have habits that we've picked up from our family members. We don't have a greater, higher power that we're in touch with. And sometimes these things can leave us feeling defeated and depleted. And then we go to our doctors and they do great. They do great things. They give us medicines when we need them. They do all the things. But sometimes one of the things that's missing is that holistic piece that you just mentioned. So back to your question, if I have to answer that, I would say, to me, it was the mindset piece. And that's the very first thing I started working on in my own health. And it is the most rewarding piece of what I see people go through today, because it becomes not about the weight loss. It becomes not about the fact that they don't have headaches anymore. What is so rewarding to see is people saying, you know what? I went through one of the most stressful times in my life, and I didn't turn to food. I went through this, I went through that, and and they become so proud of themselves because they learn truly how to tune into the body in such a way that it gives them the ability to really get in touch with those emotions and offer their body and their mind the support that it needs, so that something physical isn't the answer anymore. The glass of wine isn't as important. And the food isn't as important, right? Because they realized I was using that as a crutch. And I love the joy. I just love the joy that comes out of these experiences. So I think that's at the core of all of it. And I think that's what's missing. That's our foundation, is who we are at our core.
I think you're absolutely right. And one of the things that you touched on that bears repeating, and I will say this, I say it on almost every show, but everything, your success, your failure, your love, life, your relationship with others, everything is right between those two beautiful ears of yours. It's all mindset. I tell people all the time, 80% of everything we accomplish, fail, whatever, is mindset. And the other 20% is like the strategy we put behind doing that. But I've seen people create astonishing things that I'm like, how did they do that? Because they never thought they couldn't. They had their mindset and no one told them, like, you can't do that. How are you going to do that? It just never entered their mind. And then they put 20% of it was their strategy on how they get from point A to point B. So I love that you talk about that. It's so true that if we start fixing us, what's inside us as a whole, magical things start changing in our lives. And I didn't learn that till I was 50. And I can look at you thinking, oh my gosh, you're so young. I wish I'd have gotten it back then. But I was 51 before I realized all those illnesses, everything stemmed from what I was going through, right? When I was overweight, I was feeling a hole. When I would overshop, like who doesn't do this? Like I learned this from my mom. If you're depressed, you go to the store and you buy yourself a pair of shoes that hurt your feet or expensive bag, and you feel good for what? Like, I don't know, till the bill comes in the mail and reality hits you and the newness of the purse is over. And so you do it again and you do it again. And it isn't until you fill that space where you realize I'm enough. Like, I don't need the fancy shoes, a fancy purse. If I want it, yay, but I don't need it to fill that space in me anymore. And things start changing around you. And you do, like, people ask me all the time, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're 60 and you have 7 grandkids and 2 of them are driving cars. Like, they're old enough to drive cars. And I tell them my secret is, honestly, I wake up in absolute joy every morning, every single morning. I'm so grateful that I get another day. When I was told I was going to die 9 years ago, almost 10, that every morning I wake up and it is, I can't even describe the joy. It is absolute joy. I never wake up like, oh, I don't want to get out of bed. I used to, but now, like, I wake up in such a space of joy, and I really do think it start reversing my aging process.
It does.
Well, I know that when I go searching for you on social media, I'm going to have you answer some questions that you have on your social media, so I know you know, but don't give them all the answers, because I want them to go do some of this research on their own, but there's some that pop out to me right away. And one of the ones is you have a post on here, and it says a few signs of sluggish liver. That's a big trend word now, right? Everyone's talking about gut health, sluggish liver. I'm trying to think what the other one was that I hear all the time. Oh, this is another one, the gut hormone or the gut brain connection. And so those are like really trendy, and you're getting a lot of information about it. And the truth of the matter is, when the word gut is in there, instinctively, I'm telling you, just listen to it. If you eat and you don't feel bad, your gut's telling you, like, don't eat that again. Don't eat so much of that. I don't feel good. Like, your gut tells you so much. But the first thing I'm going to ask you is, give us a few of the signs of sluggish liver, and they can go find you on Instagram, which will be listed in here, and you will tell them how to get there before we get off the show, but they can go find the rest of them.
Yes. So a lot, and this may not be exactly in the post, because there are like so many signs of a sluggish liver, right? So number one is lack of energy. So one of the first things I do with people is I start working on their liver, and energy improves. Within 10 days, people are like, oh my goodness, I've never had this much energy in my life. What's going on? So energy is a huge one. So if you feel fatigued or you're sluggish or you just don't feel great in the morning, you're just kind of like low energy all day, that's a big one. Skin issues. So a lot of people get the red patchy skin. You may have eczema, you may have acne, you may have rosacea, all those different types of signs. Those are signs of a sluggish liver. And if you have hormone imbalance, so women, if you have PMS symptoms, if you have just bloating and those different signs, if you're gaining a little bit of excess body fat, especially around the stomach, so the big like Buddha belly, bloating after meals, those are signs of a sluggish liver. Constipation. So, and the thing is with detox, I know that it's one of those words. It is kind of a popular phrase right now, or a popular thing to do right now is work on it. The thing about it is you have to understand the phases of detoxification. You have to understand what the body really goes through. And people say, oh, I've done the juice cleanses, I've done the detox in the box and things like that I got from the store. It just didn't work for me. It didn't help me with any of these issues that I'm kind of listing out for you. And it's because it is such a key word right now, these companies are marketing to it, right? So they're just putting that on the box. So just be careful. If you're looking for a liver detox, if you're looking for anything like that, I've got some great tools, as Jana said. You can just kind of tune into there, and I'll list out all the things that you need to know about liver detox and how to do that. And you can do it with working with a practitioner, or even do some things from home.
By the way, for those of you who don't understand why you get a sluggish liver, to me, our liver is like one of the most important organs we have. They're all important. That's why we have them. But it's literally purifying your body. It's all the food runs through there. All the chemicals run through. Everything runs through there and gets purified, right? And your body figures out, it kind of is like the directional center. Okay, you go here, you go there. I don't know what to do with you, so I'm going to put you over here. And it's kind of what the liver does in a layman's terms, because I'm not a nurse or a doctor, but I know the function of the liver. I also think it's genius that the liver is I think, the only organ that rebuilds itself, regrows, replenishes itself, which I think is because of its hard, heavy load that it has to take off. It would quit after like we'd be 6 and our livers are done. So I'm glad that it's constantly repairing and replenishing itself. But I think it's so important that we do show some extra love to our liver, because it has a hard freaking job. Even if we're eating clean and we're watching everything we're using, it's taken me 10 years to get our house pretty much completely toxic free. That doesn't mean I step out and take my shoes off in someone's yard and pulling up pesticides through my feet, or I grab a lotion that says one thing, but it's really another, and I'm putting some chemicals, or just the air I breathe, or the water I have no control over. So there's things that we can't do that our liver's still working on. But I didn't know I had a sluggish liver or liver problems until I started having all of the constipation, bloatiness. Like I was having mood swings because my hormones were all whacked out. Like it was crazy. And the minute I got it back on track, everything changed. Yeah.
It's so true. And that's one thing that I start with people is just a liver detox. And I'm telling you, it is amazing what it does for hormone imbalance. I mean, some women can completely balance hormones just by loving on the liver a little bit.
Yep. And one of the things that you just mentioned was like you use food for medicine. And there are so many foods that you can eat that are so good for the liver, cabbage being one of them. Anything you eat that's fermented is so good for your body. So if you're eating like sauerkraut or kimchi, it's just so good. And it gives your body things it needs to replenish and just keep functioning. And your body's got a lot of work to do. Like it's crazy. We think our bodies are working when we're awake working, but I feel like they're doing most of the work while we're sleeping, which is why when you get sick or have a surgery, what do they tell you to do? Go home, sleep, relax. Because while you're sleeping, your body's doing all that work to repair. So sleep is super important. I want to talk to you too about your gut hormone connection, because a lot of people they think their gut is just a storage bag for whatever we eat. And it's not. It's like one of the most important brains in our body. And it literally will make you ill. It'll cause chronic illnesses if you're not taking care of it, or if you're putting the wrong things in it, or you're not paying attention to what's going on with it. I know this because everyone knows my health issue was losing my gut. I had to have it completely removed because of having my vagus nerve severed during a little teeny surgery. And so I don't have a gut. And I appreciate the fact now that my gut did a great job for me when I did. And now I have to fake it. I have to tease it and make my body think that I'm processing foods normally the way I do it. So I think it's super important that you start realizing how important your gut is and the job it's doing. So tell us a little bit by what you mean by gut hormone balance. I don't know why I'm tongue-tied today. Gut hormone balance.
So I can't say that I was learning this when I was going through it, but I know that from the time I was born, I had gut issues all the way into my childhood. And my grandmother, she thought that I should poop regularly. So she would give me suppositories and all the things. By the time I was 12, I was put on birth control for menstrual cramps and things like that. And I did that for 15 years, completely wrecked my gut, my hormones. So those were my two major issues. I always had candida type infections. I had irritable bowel and those types of things. And I thought it was just me, not realizing it. But the more I started working with people and the more I started studying, even if I went to work on hormones, I realized unless I work on the gut and really address infection, really address the liver, then I'm not seeing as much progress. So I learned that the estrogen is actually processed by way of the gut. So when we have excess estrogen in the body, if we don't have an open drainage pathway through our liver, we're not going to get rid of that excess estrogen. So the body will think that it has enough estrogen on board, and it will stop producing estrogen. So it slows down our own hormone production. But because it sees that old estrogen, and although the body can't utilize it, it's like, well, there's enough there, so I don't have to make it. But it's just that the body's not recycling it. So when we do something very simple, like open that liver drainage pathway with very specific herbs and supplements, it's very simple to do. It allows that estrogen to cycle out, the old estrogen, so the ovaries will now make more estrogen. And the cycle is very clean and pure. So just something as simple as your liver, that's going to play a huge role in the estrogen production. And you have to also think about a lot of the things that we're taking in on a regular basis, the foods that we're taking in, the toxins that we're taking in. You mentioned a lot of the toxins just in the water that we drink and the air that we breathe. And we think about pesticides, a lot of those things, they're chemicals. And when the body is attempting to process those chemicals, a lot of times it just doesn't know what to do with it. And it causes a disruption. It causes an imbalance in the gut. It causes imbalance in the hormones. And I was actually just posted on this earlier. 58% of women are on some sort of birth control now that is not related to, or that is not being taken or used because they're trying to prevent pregnancy, but for some other reason. And when we're on birth control, it causes gut infections. It changes the pH of the gut. So when we have lower pH, then we're creating an environment that pathogens like to live in. So we're always exposed to pathogens, bacteria, yeast, parasites, like all those different things. And when we have the environment kind of set up that's right, we start getting pathogens and they like to stay and hang out there. We're feeding them sugar. We're feeding them everything they want to. It's a warm, cozy, wet, moist environment. Perfect for them. So then we have that gut issue. And the yeast infections and things like that, the candida, all the overgrowth, that's kind of all the rage. It's another term right now we're using a lot. It's been popular for many years, and we're getting those infections. And what happens is that yeast becomes systemic. So then we're getting the yeast infections and things like that. But it's all stemming from a weak or a sick gut. So, and those are just like a couple of different areas where one is kind of impacting the other. But if we do a little bit of repair on the gut, then it's so beautiful how the hormones will just absolutely come into balance and repair just from working on the gut so many times, if that's your cause.
By the way, I'm so glad that you brought up candida, because when I see people that are having skin issues or they're having inflammation issues, I always stick out your tongue. And I'm like, do you crave sugar a lot? Yeah, who doesn't, right? And seriously, who doesn't nowadays? But for those of you who don't know what candida is, it's a yeast that grows in our bodies, and we're supposed to have a certain amount of it. But what's happened is our bodies have gone so much to sugar, and sugar feeds candida. It's like hungry, and the more you feed it, the more this little monster wants more, and that's where your cravings are stemming from, right? Like you have to have sugar, and then the yeast keeps growing until there's this overgrowth that starts causing anti-inflammatory, chronic illnesses, like the skin issues. It's a nasty little beast. And here's the thing, it's supposed to be there, but not in the masses that it is. And when I gave up sugar and processed foods, I totally got mine under control. And I don't even have those cravings. I literally will crave, like if I crave something sweet now, it's not a piece of candy or chocolate or whatever, it's watermelon. Like my body's changed in that type of sugar. Watermelon for me is so refreshing and hits that sweet spot, or some blueberries or boysenberries. And I no longer have the same kind of sugar cravings that I had before. So when you're talking about candida, other than watching your sugar intake, and by the way, that's not easy to do, because I took a app that had a sugar thing on it, and you'd scan all the foods and it would tell you where they were hiding sugars in there, and it would say, nope, can't have that. I put it over ground beef and there was sugar in it. They put sugar in your ground beef when packaging it. Sausages, beef, anything they grind, they put sugar in. It helps it from turning real brown. They put dyes in it. And I did not know that until I'm like, this is wrong. This app is wrong. And I found out that it's true. Like, we are being fed sugar and everything. Now I'm completely whole plant based, and I feel amazing, and things got completely back under control. And not having a stomach, I'm able to even digest better, which I thought people with no stomach can't digest vegetables. That's got to be really hard. It's so easy.
Yeah.
So when people have candida, what are some of the signs that maybe that they have an overgrowth? I always look at their tongue, because candida will come out in the mouth, and it'll come out in the back of your tongue, and it'll look like thick white or yellowish kind of film, but it's thick, not just a normal kind of film. And you can see it coming out on the tongue. But usually just ask them, how's your inflammation, your joints, your feet? Like, how did that feel? Like, how's your skin look? How's your hair look? Like, if something's going on in your body, immediately you'll see it in the hair and the skin. That's how I always know when something's going on with me. How can people like recognize candida issue? I don't even know, is there a candida test for it?
So what I use is an assessment. It's more of an assessment. There are so many there are hundreds of symptoms that can be candida related. And here's the thing about candida is it's an opportunistic infection, which means most of the time, if you have candida, you also have some sort of other bigger pathogen on board that's driving, it's driving an environment that the candida would like to live in. So, and the candida is kind of feeding on everything that the bigger pathogens are leaving behind. And by that, I mean parasites or bigger bacteria or just different things like that in the body. And you can really, I guess, almost self-diagnose candida by just a lot of the symptoms. And a lot of it has to do with your skin. So you might have itchy skin. You might have even in your creases, you could have like a film that builds up. If you kind of scrape your skin or scratch your skin and you have like a film under your nails, a lot of people get that. And the scalp will kind of get flaky. So a lot of people that have they think they have dandruff or things like that, itchy scalps. And, some women say, well, I can't go days without washing my hair. It's way too oily. It gets itchy. A lot of times that's from candida overgrowth. Of course, we know the vaginal yeast infections, those types of things, bad breath, or like a coating on your tongue, like you were mentioning, white. And you can get little tongue scrapers and just scrape it. And if it's full of like a white film, a lot of times the film is candida. So you may get, and you think about how it kind of expels itself from the body in your mucous membranes. So you may have crusts in your eyes and just different things like that. And you can have pain, like you can have joint pain, which is really interesting. So any odd symptoms, I usually tell people there's probably some sort of underlying infection in the body that's driving those. And I'm usually looking at yeast or parasites. So they're kind of running together with a lot of those weird symptoms. Some people get boils on the skin. Had a lady came and said that she's just getting these weird cysts in her body. So that makes you think there's some sort of infection that's driving these types of weird symptoms that you may want to kind of consider. Is this candida?
I literally could listen to you all day. I think you're fascinating. You guys, you have to go follow her on Instagram. Her Instagram account is the bomb. It's full of amazing information. And by the way, have you ever gone to an Instagram account and it looks like just a ton of posts and nobody lives there? You can tell this girl lives here. She shows up. You're going to want to get her book, Healed His Way. I am definitely going to grab that book. And Chelsie, where can they find you on Instagram and your website?
So everything's Chelsie Ward Wellness, CHELSIE Ward Wellness. ChelseaWard.com is my book, and I have a Facebook community, and I have a free guide that I would love to offer you guys, a few free guides. You can just ping me on Instagram if you want to, and I can send you the link directly. If you kind of misspell my name, that's okay. It happens. But you can go to ChelseaWard.com/metabolic-guide. And that's going to give you access to a guide that I created to help you learn how to eat right for your specific metabolism. And you can also go to ChelseaWard.com/checklist. If you're not a big reader, then I wrote a checklist that goes with the book, and it kind of gives you a lot of details on what you can do to kind of change your life, just little habit changes you can make to improve certain areas, from toxins to what you should eat, to what you should avoid, all those different things. And that's in a checklist. And I also have a free, the first 2 chapters of my book, you can get that free as well. And that's at ChelseaWard.com/free-book-download. So
we're going to put all of that in
yes.
the show notes. So for those of you who didn't write it down or can't remember how to spell Chelsie, don't worry. We're going to put it all in there, and all you have to do is click it and be in that space. So I'm so excited that you were here. Thank you so much, Chelsie. You are so fabulous.
Thank you. I've enjoyed it, Jana.
Thanks for listening to the Oh My Health, There Is Hope podcast. Make sure to visit Jana's website, bestholisticlife.com, where you can subscribe to the show on iTunes, Google Play, or listen there, so you'll never miss an episode. While you're at it, if you found value in the show, we'd appreciate a rating on iTunes, or if you simply tell a friend about the show, that'll help too. Let's change the world together, one health expert at a time. Looking forward to seeing you next time.